What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I know we're well past the halfway point of this year already, but before we get into the full swing of the fall movie season, an inch closer to the end of the year, I'd still like to stop and discuss what some of my favorite movies of 2023 are so far. Now, what I have to preface this with is, if you've been following me, you'll know I generally see a ton of movies, from blockbusters, awards contenders, smaller independent films, and cult films. Though this year, not only am I obviously getting to my best of the year so far list a little later than normal, but I also haven't seen as many movies as I normally get to, just due to a lot of personal stuff I've been dealing with and the fact I'm just busier in general. So this list won't be quite as extensive or as varied as they have been in the past. I usually discuss 20 movies for this list, and the range of films I discuss are all over the place. But this time, I'm just doing 10. Unfortunate, because there are a lot of movies I definitely missed out on that I really would have liked to have seen before making this list, but I just did not get enough time. But I definitely plan on catching them before the year's up. But anyway, before we begin, let me know in the comments what your favorite movies of 2023 are so far. As always, this is just my list and not a definitive ranking. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these videos, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie-related content like reviews and rankings. So let's not waste any more time, and let's jump into the list. My favorite movies of 2023 are, so far, in alphabetical order: Air, Ben Affleck's sports drama that's not so much about an inspirational sports team, but rather an inspirational marketing campaign. It generally follows some of the familiar beats you'd find in a sports movie, but channels that energy towards the behind-the-scenes drama that led to the creation of the Air Jordan sneakers. Now, sports movies generally aren't one of my go-to genres, but this soars due to its light, breezy tone, and its sharp screenplay, full of snappy banter and one-liners. Matt Damon is incredibly charismatic and likable as ever here, with a motivational speech in the third act that made me feel like I could do anything. And its all-star cast that includes Affleck himself, Jason Bateman, and Chris Tucker, among others, are all a blast. Though it's Viola Davis as the mother of Michael Jordan who gives us the other big emotionally resonant performance, especially in the way her scenes tie back to the themes of lifting one another up and helping each other out. The overall infectious energy and positive messaging here leads this to being one sports movie I'll gladly find myself revisiting. Barbie, this year's highest grossing movie so far, which is likely to remain that way, might just seem to be yet another IP movie on the surface, but Greta Gerwig has considerably more to say here, tackling themes regarding feminism, power structures, and existential musings, all while using the familiar IP of the Barbie doll to get her points across. And this leads to an experience that's equally as deep and meaningful as it is funny. It's a bright, vibrant movie that has no problem being unabashedly goofy at times, such as Ryan Gosling's Ken and his warped views on the world, or with its meta commentary that includes Will Ferrell as the CEO of Mattel coming face to face with Barbie. But there will be just as many moments that strike an emotional chord, including an exceptionally powerful monologue by America Ferrera, or the way we follow Margot Robbie's Barbie as she navigates through an existential crisis, which serves as the catalyst for the main story. And it leads to an absolutely wonderful time with a story that's destined to be as iconic as the brand itself. Creed 3, which sees Michael B. Jordan step into the director's chair as well this time, in addition to returning as the title character, and what might be my favorite of the Creed trilogy. It might tackle a familiar story trope of someone coming to terms with their past after being confronted by someone they haven't seen in so long, but Jordan's mesmerizing direction makes way for one of the best versions of that sort of movie, with some beautiful shots here to express the differing paths Adonis and his childhood friend have gone down since they last saw one another, and with a gripping performance by Jordan himself to go along with that, it makes for a truly compelling experience. But what also makes this just as entertaining are the boxing scenes, which Jordan shot in IMAX and also heavily took inspiration from anime, giving us some of the most stylish of these sequences between both the Rocky and Creed films. I was thoroughly entertained by this and look forward to what else Jordan has to offer behind the camera. Evil Dead Rise, which offers all the usual twisted fun and dark humor you come to expect from this franchise, with a very simple setup that quickly compounds upon itself and spirals out of control into one of the year's most demented experiences. Director Lee Cronin absolutely nails the chilling atmosphere here, and there is no shortage of bloody carnage, as the film constantly builds upon itself and looks for ways to outdo the scene that just came before it, as it's generally offset by its very heightened presentation and macabre sense of humor within those moments. It's everything you'd want in an Evil Dead movie, and it also has one of the coolest title reveals I've seen in some time. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The final outing for this iteration of the team sees them go out on top for what's one of the brightest spots in the MCU post-Endgame. This is filled with all the usual James Gunn sensibilities, harkening back to themes of finding family in the most unexpected places, as well as maintaining a consistently quirky, almost surreal sense of humor, at least as far as you can go within the MCU. Everyone gets their time to shine here, with Mantis and Drax providing some of the biggest laughs, but it's Bradley Cooper's Rocket who primarily drives the more emotionally driven moments, in some heartbreaking flashback sequences that explore his origins. Along with that, we get one of the best villains in all of the MCU, with Chukwudi Iwuji as the sinister High Evolutionary, and backed up by some memorable fight scenes, vibrant color set pieces, quotable lines, and as per usual, a fantastic soundtrack. This wraps up everyone's arcs quite nicely and makes for the MCU's best trilogy. John Wick Chapter 4, another visceral, over-the-top, hyper-stylized entry in this action series that manages to stay just as consistent in quality as its predecessors, while still finding ways to feel as fresh and unique as ever. Chad Stahelski's slick direction offers some brilliant shots to complement the absolutely wild action scenes, and while it essentially hits superhero levels in the ways in which you see John and other characters take beatings of their lives and simply get up unscathed, its never-ending sense of creativity and heightened sensibilities make those moments an absolute blast, along with making use of its all-star supporting cast, in particular the incredibly charismatic Donnie Yen. And while I do always appreciate how each of these films expands upon the lore of this global network of assassins, I do like how it does get back to some of the more emotional factors that drove the first movie especially, bringing some of John's motivations for why he even wanted to leave the life in the first place back full circle for a satisfying arc. If there's one thing that can be said about all of these movies, is that they've all been nothing short of excellent thus far. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, an entry in another series that's maintained a commendable level of quality so many movies in, which is especially more impressive considering how it actually got better as it went along. This is another franchise where, with its sequel, if you've seen the other movies, however you feel about them at this point will more or less be how you feel about this, as it brings all the usual elements we come to expect from a Mission Impossible movie. We get the goofy mask reveals, the fun banter among Hunt and his team, and of course, plenty of elaborate, larger-than-life stunts that are nothing short of breathtaking. The cat and mouse chases are as fun as ever here, with a car chase in Rome with a gleefully seen Joey Palm Clemente being a major standout, and it's both visually stunning and endlessly gripping, thanks to some truly impressive direction from Christopher McQuarrie. While it might only be a part 1 and will be a more complete experience upon the release of its sequel, it's still another thrilling piece of popcorn entertainment in a franchise that's still going strong. Oppenheimer, the 3-hour historical epic from Christopher Nolan, sees him take on the more personal stories that were prominent in his pre-Dark Knight outings, but with the budget of a post-Dark Knight Nolan, giving us a riveting biographical thriller, and one whose tension is almost exclusively crafted from sharp, dialogue-driven sequences that left me mesmerized. And while it's not always easy to nail a consistently riveting movie centered almost entirely around dialogue, what helps too is that the delivery from its all-star cast is absolutely phenomenal. There are so many notable names within this cast, some of whom show up for these blink and you miss it moments, and they all bring their A game for how much or how little they had to do. But the big standouts for me are, of course, Cillian Murphy and his memorably haunting facial expressions, while Robert Downey Jr. gives one of his best performances of all time here. And Florence Pugh is also magnetic in a somewhat small but pivotal role as Oppenheimer's first love interest. Though, while its dialogue is great and its cast is great, its visuals are something to behold. The cinematography is also absolutely out of this world. Ludwig Göransson's score sets the atmosphere perfectly, and it all melts together so nicely, and it's easily Nolan's finest work in recent years. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which further upped the ante on this already expansive multiverse and opened up this world even more, giving us yet another lively, energetic, beautifully animated adventure that also contains a lot of heart. The humor is still rooted in that bonkers, joke-a-minute style that was prevalent in the first film, especially once Miles crosses paths with all the other Spider people, but when it goes for the heavier moments, it hits hard, especially as it does a nice job of nailing what makes an actual good multiverse movie. And as the film explores as this, it makes for some great character development for both Miles and Gwen, with some really heartbreaking sequences of them facing their loved ones in some truly troubling scenarios. It really does a nice job at capturing these big, world-shattering, high-concept situations, while also still maintaining the essence of what makes Spider-Man a compelling character, where he's just an average kid who has to make these tough situations that we can all relate to. It really shows what makes these Spider-Verse movies so truly special. And finally, Suzume, the latest film from Your Name director Makoto Shinkai, is yet another high-concept fantasy adventure film that's equally parts funny as it is heartbreaking, with a story that I'm not going to fully do justice by giving you just a brief synopsis, but what I'll say is, the man knows how to take a movie where a guy is turned into a chair that can walk around by a talking cat and manages to really pull on your heartstrings. There's such a seamless blend of so many genres here. It'll go from being this buddy road movie of just our two leads, Suzume and Suta, then it's almost this quirky comedy as we see them briefly encounter all these other people on their travels, and it'll be really lighthearted at times. Then it really leans into being a huge fantasy epic with this story about guarding magic doors. But then beneath all that, as we explore these characters deeper, those ambitious, breathtaking moments tie into these really personal journeys for our two leads. And therein, we get a moving character drama that would absolutely floor me. And I would just be so impressed with how these larger-than-life moments would manage to still feel so personal. Now, considering how Shinkai managed to do something similar with his previous two movies, which are all that I've seen from his filmography, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am amazed how he manages to do it in what seems so effortlessly at times. But let me know, what are some of your favorite movies of 2023 so far? Is it anything I listed here? Was it something I left off? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep having fun with film.